We're starting this hour with breaking news from Jerusalem, where a deadly shooting attack has shaken the city and left 5 people dead. Authorities say it unfolded just after the morning rush hour at one of the busiest bus junctions that connects East and West Jerusalem. Eyewitnesses describe scenes of panic and chaos as 2 gunmen opened fire near a crowded bus stop and onto buses full of passengers. Emergency crews rushed to the scene within minutes, and security forces quickly neutralized the attackers. But despite that rapid response, the human toll is devastating. 5 lives were lost, men and women who were simply going about their daily routines, and many others were injured, some critically, now fighting for survival in hospitals across the city. The images coming in show the heavy presence of ambulances, security vehicles, and lines of first responders working under immense pressure. What strikes immediately is the scale of the emergency operation, with police, soldiers, and medical teams coordinating amid a flood of flashing lights and sirens. Our correspondent on the ground reporting live described the geography of the scene vividly. This wasn't just any quiet street, it was a major intersection between East and West Jerusalem, a place where buses gather, people cross from one side of the city to the other, and commuters pile into shelters, waiting to head to work, to school, or to markets. The gunfire erupted in the heart of this hub, targeting ordinary civilians. Behind her, the outline of buses could be seen, one of them parked up with windows shattered, another positioned a little further down the road. Just earlier, emergency crews had carried away body bags, a grim reminder of how quickly ordinary lives were stolen in a place that had been bustling only moments before. Crowds soon gathered. Some people were stunned, some wept, others shouted in grief and anger. And this is not only because of the immediate horror, but because of the deep scars attacks like these leave on a community that has already lived through years of tension. Security forces were quick to react by tightening measures across Jerusalem. Reports suggest that checkpoints have gone up in and around the city, and villages near Ramlah in the occupied West Bank, where authorities believe the attackers came from, were sealed off. A helicopter hovered above, scanning the area as police combed the streets for any other potential threats. The sound of sirens mixed with the sound of rotors in the sky, creating an atmosphere of tension that hung heavily over the city. Residents described the moment as one of sheer panic. People screamed, dropped their bags, and ran. Others froze in place, unable to comprehend what was happening. One witness described hearing the shots ring out in quick succession, seeing people fall to the ground, and then chaos as buses screeched to a halt and passengers tried desperately to flee. Although Jerusalem has known violence before, the scale and timing of this incident stand out. It happened in broad daylight during the busiest part of the day, in a part of the city where Palestinians and Israelis often cross paths in traffic and in daily commerce. Hamas issued a statement praising the attack, calling the gunmen resistance fighters. But importantly, it has not formally claimed responsibility. Instead, its message framed the attack as retaliation for what it described as Israeli actions in Gaza, Jerusalem, and across the occupied West Bank. That statement alone has fueled further fear that such attacks could escalate as the conflict continues. For now, though, the identities of the attackers remain under investigation, and the motive, while clearly political in nature, has not been officially confirmed beyond that statement. At the site itself, the mood is a mix of grief and anger. Among those killed were a man and woman in their 50s and 3 younger men in their 30s. Their names have not yet been released publicly, but details like age and gender already paint a picture of lives interrupted too soon, of families suddenly plunged into mourning. And it is striking to note that this particular neighborhood has a large population of ultra-Orthodox Jewish residents, many of whom were present in the crowd at the scene. Their visible shock and grief are palpable. Security in Jerusalem has been tight for nearly 2 years as the Gaza war has intensified, yet major attacks like this have been relatively rare in the city. That rarity makes today's violence even more jarring. Just to recall, in early 2023, 7 people were killed in a shooting near a synagogue not far from this same area. And now, 2 years later, Jerusalem is once again facing one of its bloodiest incidents since then. The timeline, as pieced together by eyewitnesses and police, shows how quickly it all unfolded. 2 gunmen arrived near the bus stop at the edge of rush hour. They opened fire on a bus and its shelter. Another bus up the road was also hit. Civilians scattered. Within moments, an armed security officer and even a civilian who happened to be armed responded, firing back and killing the attackers. That quick reaction likely prevented even greater loss of life, but the damage was already catastrophic. The ambulance service initially reported 15 casualties, with 5 confirmed dead and others seriously wounded. Hospitals nearby were quickly put on high alert to handle the sudden influx of patients. Families rushed to emergency rooms, desperate for updates about loved ones. Some victims are still clinging to life. And while the medical teams are working frantically, for many families, the wait outside those hospital doors is agony. What makes this location especially sensitive is how it straddles the lines of Jerusalem's divided geography. East Jerusalem, home to many Palestinians, lies just minutes from Jewish neighborhoods and settlements. Buses running through this junction carry people from both communities, and the bus stop itself is a rare spot where those worlds overlap physically, if not socially. That mix makes it symbolic and strategically significant for anyone seeking to strike. And that is why security officials are describing this as a calculated attack designed to hit at a crossroads that embodies the city's contested identity. The ripple effects extend far beyond the city itself. Thousands of Palestinians from the West Bank used to travel daily into Israel, into Jerusalem, and into Jewish settlements to work. But when the Gaza war escalated, Israel canceled many of those work permits as part of heightened security. That move strangled parts of the Palestinian economy, but also cut back on cross-border movement. Now, in the aftermath of this shooting, even tighter restrictions are expected. Villages around Ramla are already sealed, checkpoints are multiplying, and overnight curfews may follow. For Palestinians who rely on daily work across the border, life is about to become even harder. And for Israelis, this attack reinforces a grim reality. Even with security everywhere, with checkpoints, surveillance, and police patrols, violence can still erupt suddenly, in places people think of as ordinary and safe. The sense of vulnerability is intense. Parents are worried about letting children ride buses. Workers fear their commute. And everyone looks around nervously at the presence of heavily armed soldiers in places once considered routine. Daily life becomes punctuated by security checks, flashing lights, and the sound of distant helicopters. Meanwhile, politicians and officials are already arriving at the scene. Long convoys of security vehicles have been spotted pulling into the area, likely carrying ministers or other high-level figures. Their presence underscores how politically charged this attack is. And as cameras capture those convoys, the world sees a city bracing itself yet again. Social media is also overflowing with footage, some authentic, some misleading, showing the immediate aftermath. Our verification teams are sifting through that material carefully, confirming what is real before releasing it. Because in moments like this, misinformation spreads almost as quickly as the violence itself. And yet, at the heart of it, beyond politics, beyond security measures and international statements, are the human stories. 5 people left their homes this morning. They may have kissed loved ones goodbye, planned their day, maybe even looked forward to something as small as a lunch break or as big as a celebration in the evening. They did not come home. Others lie in hospital beds, their families praying they pull through. Strangers who were caught in the chaos may carry trauma for years. Every bus ride, every crowded corner now shadowed by memories of gunfire. This is the reality of Jerusalem today. A city divided, scarred, tense, yet alive. A place where the ordinary can become extraordinary in an instant, where daily routines can be shattered without warning. The fact that both Israelis and Palestinians pass through this same intersection, waiting for buses, standing side by side, only makes the tragedy more poignant. For some, it will deepen resentment. For others, perhaps, it will underscore the shared vulnerability of all who live here, as we await further updates, whether more details on the attackers, the condition of the wounded, or political responses. One thing remains certain. The cycle of violence continues, leaving behind a trail of grief and fear. Security forces will intensify operations. statements will be made. But families will bury their loved ones, neighbors will mourn, and an already fragile city will carry yet another wound. And so we leave you with the sobering reminder of what has happened today. A shooting attack in Jerusalem, 5 lives lost, many more injured, and a city once again on edge. The investigation continues, and we will bring you updates as they come. But for now, the images of ambulances, police, and grieving crowds tell a story of their own, a story of lives broken, of fear renewed, and of a community struggling to understand why tragedy has once again found them on an otherwise ordinary morning.